Welcome, War Commander ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Skipjack's Pinup Party. I'd like to get this one started with a song. Would you like to come sing along? Shall we? Let's get the party started. My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard. It makes them hard. The guys go crazy. My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard. It's better than yours. They lose their minds, la la, la la, la, warm it up, la la, la la, la, The boys are waiting, la la, la la, la, The ladies too, la la, la la, la, warm it up, la la, la la, la, My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard. It makes them hard, la la, la la, la, warm it up, la la, la la, la, The boys are waiting, la la, la la, la, The way I want, la la, la la, la, I think it's time. Now that I have your attention, let's talk about these power plants that we've got, shall we? The brand new one, the fusion tower, and the deep reactor, which I like to call the deep core reactor. This is the fusion tower, and this is your deep reactor. It has not gone unnoticed by this player, female, full of herself, in the gutter occasionally. This one's an outie, and this one's an innie. Want to zoom in? Let's take a look. Oh yeah. I do believe that that wonderful, lovely looking tower would fit really nice right there, deep into that slot. I love the fact that it's called the deep reactor. Let's talk about some details. First and foremost, let's look at the difference between the two. The first thing a lot of people notice is the armor between the two. 21 million armor versus 12,500,000 armor. Another big difference is the power level. Now my fusion tower is a level 1, and the maximum power level has been achieved at level 1. So regardless of how high I take this, the power will always be 80,000. The deep reactor, however, appears that as I level it up, I will get more power. And also I will get more armor points. But since I haven't done that yet, nor am I going to do it anytime soon, because it would be very expensive and I've just about run out of advanced materials, want to pay particular attention to the descriptions. The deep reactor is nestled safely beneath the surface. Enemy aircraft deal significantly reduced damage to this structure. I personally have come across this in PvP. I'm not much of a PvP player. You guys know that about me. So what I really wanted to bring up about that is if you come up against a player that has a deep reactor, do not go after this with air. Do not save this building for last. If anything, wherever it's located, if you can isolate it by itself, and you do have to send in air after it, park something over top of it in the meantime while you finish off the rest of the base. And you'll see exactly why in just a moment. I'll do some subsequent videos to test the difference between the two. I really wanted to point out something specific about the fusion tower. It does say that it's unstable and powerful, and it produces vast amounts of energy. If destroyed, this building will detonate, dealing massive damage to anything caught in the blast. Yes, can you say big, big, bada, boom. Okay, so specifically, I think during the ops, when the ops phase came out, I had a lot of people that were contacting me that they thought that the fusion tower was bugged. And here's why I say it's not bugged. Okay, when you're coming up against something like this specifically says do not bring air. Yeah, but that's deceiving. You think, oh, well, then this should be a piece of cake with air. You really have to pay attention to the damage levels of what your air is going to do. And you have to look at these armor points, which is 21 million. Now, there's a little bit of disparity, in my opinion, as far as the math goes, when I look at the damage that my air units do, and I think easy, simple equation, If my air unit does, I don't know, 50,000 damage, I should be, per shot, I should be able to do, 50,000 divided into 21, and for each shot, then this would be dead. Now, it doesn't work that way. I think it's more along the lines of per shot, it takes off a chunk of that life bar. And I haven't actually done the math yet, but I'm going to show you the difference. And I'm going to show you with a particular air unit. I'm not going to show you air units that do not work on the fusion tower because you already know what those are. So if you're watching this video today and you've even touched your shadow ops, be careful what you send after this, and definitely don't send any air after this. And what I like to say about the deep reactor is I prefer to call this the deep core reactor. It's deep. If you want to touch it, if you want to get to it, if you want to get to all that hot moltenness to the point where it completely melts into the ground, you're going to need to bring something hard and heavy, and you better have your boots strapped on and bring it from the ground. Don't be waving your air over top of my deep core because you won't even get to first base. Now let's talk about the air coming to the fusion tower, shall we? We have some players that were upset, and I'd like to point out some points to you fairly quickly. Again, I'm not an expert. You guys know I don't make videos very often, and when I do, most often, it's private. This one's going to be public, hopefully to help the community. Let's start with the aces. Okay, first and foremost, it says the DPS is 400,000. Let's look at the difference of some of the air. 528, 314, 160, 375. I'm sorry, I meant to go up higher. Sandstorm 266, Phantom 924, Mega Titan 470, just to give you an idea. So let's look at the aces, okay? A lot of you have been bringing aces into the shadow up bases to try to kill the fusion towers. And here's the reason why I say that's not so specifically a good idea. My aces are maxed. Some of you don't even have max aces. Some of you do. For those of you, regardless, you're going to have to go into your base. You're going to have to go into your base and look at the level of your air to determine which air is the better air to go if you're going to use air to take out the fusion tower. I would not suggest that you use air in any way, shape, or form for the deep reactor, especially if someone has that leveled up. Make sure you're doing some advanced scouting. And if they have it leveled up beyond level 1, it's going to take a long time. You will probably run out of time in the base attack before you actually kill the deep reactor. So let's look at the DPS more specifically. Again, the description is the same for just about every unit. So the damage per second is the average damage this unit does every second, derived from the reload time, which is 40. 40 is 1 second. Clip size, rounds fired before a reload required, and the damage per round. For this particular unit, the reload is 40. The clip size is 2. I love a double clip. Clip. I said clip. I said it. The damage per shot is 250,000. Okay, and the fire rate is 5. So again, I want you to keep that in mind. 250,000, and the clip size is 2, and the fire rate is 5. And you say, what does that have to do in the grand scheme of things? Okay, you look at your units and you do the math, and we'll take a look. Okay, well, let's go to, had a few other people tell me, yeah, they took their chopper company in. They thought for sure. Yeah, it's badass for health. Okay, my chopper company is only elite. So I knew not to take my chopper company into those bases because I knew that it really wasn't going to have that much of effect. Not for the the fusion tower. It did get rid of the shadow, and I'll explain why in a minute, which unit I end up using, but it did get rid of the shadow units that were in there, and it went fairly quickly. But it's not necessarily, I mean, the DPS we're talking 349,000, for me, was 349,000. Again, if you have a mega, don't know what that number is, don't care. You have to look what's specific for you. So if you see somebody who's in Discord or in forums or someplace else and they say, oh, well, my aces didn't even touch anything. I just showed you what that was. Make some comparisons to some of your other units and look and see what you have that's stronger if you're going to use air and not use ground. If you don't feel like using ground, that's fine. If you want to use air and take the easy way out, that's fine too. But just know that these new power plants are going to be continued. Not only are they going to be in PVE, and Kixeye is going to have them in their bases that we're going to have to fight, they're going to be in PvP. And you're going to have to be ready for that. So let's look at that. Let's go over to the description for the DPS. This one, same description, of course. The reload is 10. Unfortunately, the clip side's only 1. So even with the drone, still only has 1 clip. I said clip, C-L-I-P. The damage per shot, you can take a look at it. It's right there, 96,000. Okay? That's not a lot. Fire rate of 1. So you're sitting there and you're waiting for it to fire, and you're saying to yourself, well, my drone's firing and my chopper's firing. Still, that's really low. For me, this is my elite chopper company at level 14. Again, I could go in and we could look to see how much it goes up, but I could, you guys know this. Once it goes from elite to omega, for the most part, that DPS number doesn't move that much. What moves? The health is what moves. Once we get past elite and into omega, we don't really get this big, gigantic amount of anything as far as DPS goes. We get a little bit, but not a lot. Most we get is health, unless it's a unit that has a level 10 or level 20 talent. And then we get something, usually something, bang for a buck at 10, and we usually get something really big and bang for your buck at 20. So again, look at your chopper company and see what your level is, and look at your damage per shot. This is really low. I would never take a chopper company against a fusion tower. No way, shape, or form, unless it was a Hail Mary and if I was in a base, and that would not be the only thing I brought. It's a powerful unit, but not for a fusion tower. And you say to yourself, well, it's supposed to be stronger against buildings. Okay, this building has 21 million health. And you're looking at a fire rate of 1, with a clip size of 1, a reload of only 10, and a damage per shot of 96,000. Again, this is my chopper company, but let's keep it in perspective, okay? Had some people say Herald. I say to myself, oh yeah, I thought about that too. Thought about bringing the Herald in to do the op spaces. And I'm like, yeah, because I know the DPS is badass and my Herald was maxed. I'm like, yeah, it's 40. I can do this. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's got a DPS of, I'm just going to say 513,000. Forget that 333. So I'm like, yeah, I think I can do that. But everybody knows that you have to get right on top of something before the bombs drop. They do drop, but they drop so slow, and then there's a pause, and then they drop again, and then there's a pause. And if you're lucky, you don't get the little flutter thing that it does. And no, that's not just visual. Everybody says it is. It isn't visual. I think the AI on the Herald occasionally gets a little squirrely, and you have to retarget something to get it to stop fluttering, or you have to move it to the left or move it to the right to retarget it in order to get it to drop its bombs. Who has time to do that, to sit and do that? I don't think you should take something into a shadow ops base. I don't think Kixeye intends for any of us to take anything into a base and finish it off and just leave it on Ruby. I don't think that's competitively fun. And I really don't think that it's, I don't know, it's just not even appropriate. If you're going to be doing something on Ruby, it should be something smaller, like a Thor 3 or something like that with your libs all tricked out or your Spartans all tricked out. I don't think you should be doing a Shadow Ops 95 by sending in 25 aces and then putting them on Ruby and expecting them to finish off the fusion tower. I don't think that's the way the game should be designed, and to be honest with you, it's boring. And I don't think that those bases should be that easy. These things are made for a reason. It's supposed to be a challenge. Stop whining about the fact that your aces won't destroy the fusion tower. Use that to your advantage for future knowledge when you hit somebody's base with one of these things in it, and also what's going to be coming to us in the future. Okay, so I thought to myself, what's something that I know has more than my Herald? And I knew for sure, even though it's not all the way up to level 30, was my Omega Shepherd. Mine is Omega. Maybe yours isn't. Again, look at the air that you have and what you have available to you, and look at the DPS. Just the DPS should blow everybody away. 2,120,000, I'm just going to say 123,000. Okay, even though it says 951, I'm going to round up on that like the IRS. So just the DPS on that one is incredibly different compared to the other units. And let's hover over it and take a look at it for a second. The reload is 60. Now mind you, it only has one clip. I say clip? Yes. The reload is 60, but the damage per shot is 3,237,500. The fire rate is 1. So for every shot, 3,237,500 in damage. Okay, that's again a level 23 Omega Shepherd. If you don't have an Omega, do some comparison on your air and look and see what will do the better shot. Okay, so let's take a look. I personally think that if you look at that and then you look at the tower, again, that was 3 million, and you look at the tower, and I had somebody say this to me, and I'm like, oh, well, then I should be able to hit it 7 times because 3 goes into 21, 7, and that tower should be dead. Why isn't it dead? No, that's not the way it works. Kickseye math is never that simple, and I'm not putting Kickseye down, but it's never that simple. In my opinion, and again, I'm speaking as a player, in my opinion, the armor amount it would be and a unit that would hit, and it's not an exact science, that armor would take a certain amount of each piece of life bar away. So however many life bars there are, that it would take a portion of that or a percentage of that. So I'm sure that when there is a hit per unit, whether or not it has splash, whether or not it has corrosion, whether or not it has fire, whether it does any other kind of extra damage, whether or not it's burst, those are all variables that would change. So don't think that because the Shepherd does a little over 3 million and you divide that into 21 that you're going to get 7 shots. No, that's not going to happen. So I'm going to show you, and hopefully you'll still be watching the video when I finish. I've redone this video twice, and it was too long because I was trying to do the fusion tower and the deep reactor together, and I ran out of time and it made the video really, really long. So let's go into just the fusion tower, and I'll make a subsequent video for the deep core reactor and why you don't want to fly over my core with air. If you're going to come to my core, come hard and heavy. Let's get this party started in the go-go bar. Come on, ladies. Let's get the pasties out and the heels and do some dancing. Hello. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select one Shepherd. I already have this set up ahead of time. Yes, I'm going to suicide it at the end to make the video a lot shorter, but you'll get the general idea. We'll zoom in for those of you who'd like to see how fast the life bar goes down and what happens when it explodes. Actually, I do want to show you something fairly quickly when I thought about the explosion. This does explode similar to the circle of the regular power plant. So it can move this over here. It's just as off the cuff a minute. If you look at the regular power plant on overdrive, actually I'll do a comparison here. Now I'll do it here. Let's do it here, right here. Oh, make them touch. Come on. Yes, I'm doing this off the cuff, sorry. So there's your circle. And you want to look similarly. Again, our bases aren't exactly, a bird's eye view. So if you make it touch. Sorry, trying to get it to sit down. So if you look at this circle, it's touching. You look at this circle, it's touching, and the circles are fairly close and similar. Okay, I'm going to put this power plant back. It must be a nightmare to put my base back together when I'm done. Let me put this back. Now what I want to show you here is I'm going to move this one next to here. Let me move it up a little bit so you can see. Now you can see just the difference in the circle of destruction when it explodes. Okay, so then I'm going to put this one here. Same thing. And I'm going to put it right next to it. So if you can see the difference, the offset between where this one is, how close it is to that, and the difference between how close this is to the dragon's teeth and how close the fusion tower is to the dragon's teeth. There's the circle for the fusion tower, the blast radius, and here is the blast radius for the deep reactor. Now, to be honest with you, I've tested it. You guys can test it in your base. I know the go-go bar isn't perfect, but you're going to get more bang for your buck having this one in there you're going to have an awesome amount of power, but wherever you place it, if you have any close to any of your turrets or any of your buildings, it's going to blow your buildings up. Somebody brings ground after this. I brought a war rig to this, and it took forever for the war rig to shoot it, and then I just started driving over it. And when I drove over it and it finally exploded, I don't know how many times I went back and forth, but when I drove over it, you guys can test it for yourself. When this exploded just at level 1, it blew my war rig to less than half health. So again, if you come up against one of these in your base, be really, really careful about what you're driving over to kill it, or when it gets close to implosion, which you'll see what it looks like when it's about to implode. If you're driving something close to it or you're driving something over it, back off and finish the shots with shots. Don't try to just get right up on top of it, because you won't be happy with what happens to your units. Okay, so let me move this out of the way so we're not interfering with the go-go bar test. Open the go-go bar, back up. I have one shepherd clicked off, and we're going to do test defenses. Okay, let it run. Okay, I'm going to do swap. It's just what I do, as I know exactly where my stuff's going to come in at. It's going to automatically go for the fusion tower anyway. I'm going to zoom in for you guys. I'm sorry, I forgot to close my chat. I'm so sorry. I apologize. But I want you to take a look at how fast that life bar is going down. And then it turns red. Now, if you were using ground right now, I'd say get the hell out of there. If you're using ground and backing up, you definitely do not want to be in this blast zone when this explodes. Booyah! Now you see this right here as the blast radius, but actually the concussion part of it is more out to here. Okay, now let me get this. Let me see if I can get this out of the way really quick. Let me zoom out. No, it's too late. I'll get smacked by the hunters. Sorry about that. My fault. I should have moved my hunters out of there. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do it. I should have moved the reactor farther out. Wasn't even thinking. I could do it on another video, because the point is that I will not be able to destroy this, and all the time that we just took, at least half of that time would be you watching me trying to hit this reactor. You can test it for yourself. I encourage you to go out and try to test it for yourself. Let me see if I can get it in on an angle without the hunters picking me up. Originally I was going to suicide, but I had thought about it. I was like, well, if I had left it here, I could have tried to. Let me see. If the hunters pick me up, then don't even worry about it. I'll just end the video at that point. We won't even worry about it. They didn't pick it up. Right, so just want to give you an idea. Again, this is 3 million, over 3 million per shot, hitting a level 1 deep core reactor. Low wire entanglement's going to die before this even gets one life bar off of it. So as you can see, it's moving, but not very much. Excuse me. All that singing did my voice in. I don't know what to do. I'm teasing, kidding. All right, so now we've got it down to just a little bit more of a nick. This does not turn red. So for those of you who are looking for it to turn red like the fusion tower, it does not. Eventually when it gets to, and again, I'm not going to even sit here and do this because it'll drive all of us nuts just to watch this thing hit. Again, remember, this is over 3 million. And you see how many shots it's already taken. I'm not counting. I've counted the shots before, and it's a lot. It's close to, it's anywhere from 55 to 60 shots for my shepherd to kill a fusion tower. This one, when I did this test about 4 days ago, it was 3 times, maybe 4 times as many shots to do. So you see, we're at just at 2 life bars. Now imagine if you were hitting somebody's base and you were doing all the things that you had to do, and this was the last thing that you had, and you're like, oh, I'll just go back and get that later with air. Don't do that. You end up like me. Hopefully those of you who are professional PvPers, you will keep that in mind. But if you're a noob PvP player, don't be like me. I'm so excited when I think I'm going to get 1 star. I did a guy the other day. Yes, I'll give a shout out to the guy in 27 that came and invaded the sector. I went and did a guy. Got him for 98% because I ran out of time. I had 1 minute and 45 seconds in his base. I'm like, I'll just kill that with my shepherd. Hell freaking no. It looked like this. It had 3 nicks of life off of it. I brought in my blackout. I brought every piece of air that I had and parked it to shoot on that thing. And I didn't even get it half the way dead. And then I ran out of time. So yeah, it was big haha on me because I only got him for 98%. It did still say on my battle log that his base was destroyed. That was pretty exciting. So for the rest of you who PvP and you say, oh, that's no big deal, Skip. It's just 98%. Hey, for me to even get 90 of anything on anybody's base when they didn't already arrange it for me to get like a 1 or 2 star on their base, that's a big deal. And he was online and he was defending. I was just excited to kill his base defense tune and chase his Nick around. That was pretty adorable. So again, here we are. I was just kind of filling in with small talk. It's not even halfway dead. So again, when I think about the math of this being over 3 million per shot, I believe that that mathematical equation must equate to these little life bars here. I don't want to hover over it and turn it red. I'm thinking maybe, 7 times it moves a nick. I don't know. Let's see and wait for it to move again. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, it moved. Oh my gosh, I figured that out on my own. Holy moly. There is a brain up there somewhere. Okay, so maybe it takes 7 times just to get that line to move a nick. I'm not exactly sure. So we're going to go ahead and end the video. I'm going to finish and wrap it up. I just want to say thank you to everybody who's watching. Get your go-go bar tests out. Get your go-go bars open. Start testing this. And if you really want to get crazy, because the go-go bar isn't always an accurate... Oh, see, now it's degrading. I did want to at least get you to see what it looks like when it starts to degrade. It kind of starts looking all crumply. It does not turn red. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hover over it. It does not turn red. It just kind of crumplifies. And instead of exploding out like the fusion tower, it actually explodes inward. So it does kind of... If you're on top of it, you're going to take some damage, but it's really not that much. So get your go-go bars going, test it yourself. If you're going to go after this and you're in somebody's base, I definitely suggest that if you're going to hit it, that you hit it with ground to start, and if you need to, back it up with air. I mean, even the most powerful air that we have is not going to kill this quickly. So you've been listening to my voice since I've been handling this for quite a while, and we're finally reaching like about the halfway point. So I'm not even going to make it to that part. But if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me on KXL. And not so much on Discord would be better, or if we're friends on Facebook. I'm also on the Unshackled page. I'm also on City 33. Excuse me, have to sneeze. I cannot help that one, and I'm not going to edit that out. I'm also on City's page, so if you decide that you don't want to be friends with me on Facebook, but you have a question, post it on City's page. Ping me. If you don't want to speak with me directly, then grab one of the guys on the page and have them ask me. 9 times out of 10, I'm at least in 3 or 4 hangouts every several days or so. So we can get those questions answered for you, even if it doesn't have anything to do with these 2 new power plants. Again, we can only have 2. So remember that for right now, thank God. We can only have 2. So I chose to have both of these, each one of these in my base for testing. Yeah, you can flat my base really, really easy, especially the way it looks now. You can flatten my base really, really easy. I'll make some changes to my base and move some things around, but I'm having even a hard time deciding where I'm going to place the two of them. So that I thought this was really cool to put the fusion reactor right here. Had a guy come in, he landed, this is a spawn spot for defense. He landed here between getting stuck in the dragon's teeth and the mine blowing up. Then the first thing he started shooting at was my fusion tower. It exploded and killed his tune even more, almost all the way dead. Actually, I think it did kill his Nova. Yeah, I think it did. It obliterated his Nova, but the Darkstorm was still there. Of course, Romero ran forward right into the lead storms. I don't know what he was thinking. But then I realized once it was dead, because it was providing me so much power, I lost about 25% of my power to my turrets. So that kind of sucks, donkey balls. Oh, well, will you look at this? It's almost done. Nah, I'm not going to stay and watch it all. You guys can test it for yourselves. Thank you again for watching. I hope you enjoyed the little bit of a demonstration that I did. You don't have to like or subscribe, but if you're interested in other videos or other things that you'd like to see, let me know. I'll do something about it. If you have any other questions, moderator related, give me a shout out. There's always a way to track me down somewhere. Have a great and wonderful day, wherever you are. And blessed. I'm blessed, and so shall you be.